The air was thick with the scent of freshly cut hay when Margaret Hensley stood on my porch, her navy blazer crisp and her smile sharp as a tack. "Mr. Callahan," she said, clutching a thick envelope, "you've got 10 days to pay $87,000 in unpaid HOA dues, or Meadowview Estates will foreclose on your ranch." I stared at her, my coffee mug frozen halfway to my lips. The audacity of this woman, the newly elected HOA president, claiming my family's land that had never been part of her gated community was beyond belief. "My name's Tom Callahan, a 52-year-old retired firefighter from Willow Creek, a quiet stretch of land just outside Boise, Idaho. My father, Henry Callahan, built this ranch in 1963, long before Meadowview's McMansions sprouted up. 12 acres of golden fields, a weathered barn, and a cottonwood tree my mother planted in '69. It's my home, my roots. When Dad passed 3 years ago, I left my city job to keep the place alive. But now, Margaret was threatening to tear it all down over dues I never owed. This ranch isn't in your HOA," I said, my voice steady but my pulse racing. "It's been exempt since my father signed the deed." Margaret tilted her head, her smile never wavering. "Records say otherwise, Tom. Your exemption lapsed. Pay up or lose it." She dropped the envelope at my feet and strode back to her gleaming SUV, leaving me with a stack of papers claiming I owed for 30 years of fees dating back to when I was a teenager. The trouble started 6 months earlier, when Meadowview expanded its boundaries. New fences went up near my eastern pasture, followed by paved roads and fancy mailboxes. Then came the letters. "Welcome to Meadowview Estates HOA. Comply with fence height regulations. Grass must not exceed 2.5 inches. I laughed it off. Me ranch predated their rules by decades. But when I caught Margaret snapping photos of my property, I knew this was no mistake. It was a calculated move. Margaret Hensley was a force of nature, the kind of woman who spoke in ultimatums and wrote emails like she was drafting the Constitution. She'd moved into Meadowview's grandest house after a messy divorce and quickly seized control of the HOA. Her mission? To elevate the community, even if it meant bulldozing anyone in her way. I sent her a certified letter with my father's 1963 deed, proving the ranch's exemption. Her reply? Documents under review. Then the complaints rolled in. My rooster was too loud. My fence was unsightly. My flagpole violated height codes. The foreclosure notice was the final straw. That night, I sat with my dog, Scout, on the porch swing. The envelope's contents spread before me. "They're trying to steal our home, boy," I muttered. I dug through Dad's old files, land surveys, tax records, utility bills. Something was off. The next day, I visited the county clerk's office, where I found a new zoning map with my ranch suddenly included in Meadowview's boundaries. Worse, it bore a signature that looked like mine, dated 2010. I hadn't lived here then, and Dad was battling dementia. No way he signed anything. Furious, I called Margaret. No answer. Instead, I got an email. "All communications must go through our legal team." I had two choices: pay a fortune for a debt I didn't owe or fight and risk losing everything. I chose to fight. I called my old friend Dave, a real estate attorney from my firefighting days. "Someone's forging signatures to take my land," I told him. What he uncovered changed everything. The next morning, I woke to the roar of a bulldozer at my fence line. Scout barked wildly as I ran outside in my flannel shirt, boots barely laced. A yellow machine loomed over my pasture, inches from the wire fence Dad built in '71. Margaret stood nearby, sipping coffee, her floral scarf fluttering. "Morning, Tom," she chirped. "We're prepping for HOA road expansion. You've been notified." "This is my land," I shouted. "You're trespassing." She waved a hand at the contractor. "Pete has the new zoning permit. This is HOA property now." My fists clenched. Dave's call later that day confirmed my worst fears. The HOA had exploited a 2007 law allowing annexation of unregistered adjacent land. Worse, a 2010 document bore Dad's forged signature, claiming he'd agreed to join the HOA. Dad could barely hold a pen that year. It was a lie. I spent days combing through Dad's records, finding a VA report from 2010 documenting his tremors. No way he signed anything. Dave said we had a case, but needed a judge to listen. Margaret's connections made that tricky. Her cousin sat on the city council. Her ex-husband was a local developer with deep ties. Then came an orange notice on my barn. Remove livestock or face daily fines. My goats, Daisy and Buck, were now residential violations. I was done playing nice. I contacted the local paper, posted on community forums, and rallied Dad's old friends. An 89-year-old neighbor, Pastor Ellis, showed up with a gem, a 1987 petition signed by 35 landowners, including Dad, rejecting HOA inclusion. It was notarized, ironclad. Your father fought these vultures before, Ellis said. He'd be proud. But Margaret wasn't slowing down. A sheriff's deputy, my old high school buddy Mike, delivered an emergency lien notice. Sorry, Tom, he said. Margaret pushed this through a friendly judge. You've got 8 days before the auction. My heart sank. They'd locked me out of defending my own land. I drove to the HOA office, a glassy building reeking of privilege. Margaret sat at her desk, typing away. You've gone too far, I said, slamming the petition on her desk. I've got proof Dad never signed your papers. She didn't flinch. Time's running out, Tom. Liens don't lift themselves. I leaned in. You're stealing a man's legacy for your cookie-cutter utopia. She smirked. I'm improving property values. You're just in the way. Hope arrived unexpectedly. Pastor Ellis brought Clara Thompson, a retired zoning clerk from the 90s. She had maps from 2002 showing Meadowview's original boundaries. Me, ranch wasn't included. Your dad stopped a similar land grab back then, she said. I'll testify. That night, Dave and I filed an injunction, armed with the petition, medical records, and Clara's maps. We worked until dawn, determined to stop the foreclosure. The HOA didn't back off. 2 days later, animal control showed up, claiming my goats were unsanitary. Margaret watched, smug as ever. I invited the officer to inspect the barn. His verdict? Spotless. Margaret's smile faltered. Then came Lisa Harper, a reporter who'd heard my story through Ellis. Her news segment exposed Margaret's shady notary and backdated documents. Residents started calling the HOA office, furious. The tide was turning. 5 days before the foreclosure deadline, I found a chilling letter, final inspection scheduled. Vacate within 48 hours or face seizure. But Dave called with a bombshell. He'd found Meadowview's founding charter, listing Dad as a signatory dated 2018, 2 years after his death. The signature was a digital fake. This isn't just fraud, Dave said. It's criminal. The next morning, a construction crew arrived, erecting a sign, Meadowview Community Plaza, Phase 1. They were building on my land before the court date. I was livid, but Dave raced over with a court order halting all work. Margaret arrived, furious. You're ruining progress, she snapped. I held up my phone, playing Lisa's report, a whistleblower exposing Margaret's bribes to officials. Her face paled. Lisa, filming nearby, called out, Care to comment, Margaret? She fled to her SUV. In court, Dave presented our case. The 1987 petition, Clara's maps, Dad's medical records, the forged charter. The whistleblower's testimony sealed it. Margaret had funneled HOA funds to buy land for a developer, using my ranch as the final piece. Judge Harlan, a no-nonsense veteran, wasn't impressed with Margaret's flustered attorneys. This is a disgrace, he said. The lien is void. All HOA actions against Mr. Callahan cease, and I'm referring this to the DA for fraud. The courtroom erupted. We'd won. Margaret tried to slip out, but Lisa caught her. The next day, the county launched a criminal probe. Then came a package, a notebook labeled Margaret's ledger, detailing bribes to officials and contractors. It was dynamite. Days later, Margaret vanished. Her house was empty, her office deserted. Lisa's next report revealed the truth. Margaret, real name Susan Carver, was arrested in Nevada with fake IDs and $200,000 in cash. She'd run a multi-state HOA scam under aliases. The feds took over, and I testified in a Portland courtroom. Susan was convicted on 19 counts of fraud and conspiracy, sentenced to 15 years. Meadowview's HOA was dissolved, its assets frozen. My ranch was safe. Neighbors brought pies and apologies, ashamed they'd believed Margaret's lies. The county removed her signs, and I repainted the barn, feeling Dad's spirit in every stroke. One evening, Lisa gave me a plaque, to Tom Callahan, for defending his roots so others could stand tall. I buried Margaret's first letter under the cottonwood tree, letting go of the anger. Peace returned, but the fight taught me something. Injustice thrives when good people stay silent. What would you do if someone tried to steal your home with lies and power? Have you faced bullying or corruption in your community? Share your thoughts below. Let's talk about standing up to injustice and what it means to fight for what's right. Your voice matters.